Okay, how's it going, everyone? My name is Sean Borland, and I'll be talking about the shortcomings and wish list for SkillCourt5. So, for starters, for the most part, everything we wanted to accomplish in the project was done. Some things just need a little tweaking, and I'm going to go ahead and list some of those things out here for you. First are the force sensor readings. So you receive a reading between 0 and 1023. That's represented in voltages. What needs to be done is some tweaking and adjustment. We were able to get the readings to roughly around 8 volts, which basically means anything under 8 volts doesn't get recorded. Reason being, it's just a little too sensitive. So anything from 8 and higher works. What was suggested to us was coming up with some source of formula that can just accurately gauge the amount of voltage that works properly. The next issue was the cohesiveness of our class designs. Some of them, for instance, we have a statistics class, which basically gathers all the stats: green pads hit, red pads hit, and accuracy. But in that class, we also have our timer. So it'd be good if you can remove the timer from that class so that they're each, cohesive. They only take care of what they need to take care of. Also, our main class has a few methods in there that can be in their own class. So that's something else that can be done to make the program more cohesive. A little more advanced initial setup options would be nice. So we currently are able to connect to, well, technically we can connect to any number of pads we want, but on our startup menu, we put it up to 5. Create some sort of drop-down menu where you're able to put as many pads as you like. Also, our timer at the present time only does 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and 60 seconds. Do another drop-down menu, which would give more options for time, 2 minutes, 15 seconds, for example. A less complex start menu class. Now, if you look at the start menu class, it's a bit overwhelming. What I did was I used JFrame's scene builder, copied and pasted, and then started working on it that way, which is a bit complex. If you can somehow just go through the code and just simplify it a bit, which makes it easier to add on, that will be a big plus. And there's just a slight timer sync issue. So the game will start and maybe a fraction, like a quarter of a second later, the timer starts, the game ends, and again, a quarter of a second later, then the timer stops. So just figure out what that little sync issue is, and you should be fine. Now we're going to go into the wish list. We tested the entire program on a local database. Our product owner, Gummy, has a remote database. So all the stats, everything collected, hits and everything, gather all that information and start storing that on the remote database. The purpose of that is so, let's say a user plays 10 games, he can see his progression over time. And this would work well if you implement it in, let's say, an Android or iOS. From the phone, you can simply just go to the website and review your scores. As I said, Android and iOS development. Everything we did was in Java for the computer. We laid the foundation, so just basically use everything we had and create that same thing in either Android, iOS, or both, depending on how many are working on the project and how much time is available. User-generated sequences. Right now, the coding of the colors, the pad changes from red to green, it's completely random. It would be nice to have user-generated sequences. So someone can say, for a 30-second game, I want this particular sequence of colors. I want them to change in order from the north pad to east to south to west, or however. Just give the user more options than just the random one that we put. Enhanced visual menus, more of the aesthetics. right now it's pretty plain. We're worried about the functionality and getting all the data and everything right. Add some nice backgrounds to it, change the way the menus look, just make it look a little more pleasing than what we have. We were focused more on functionality, so it works really well, just make it look nicer. And finally, more statistical data. So currently we are able to test when it hits the green pads, the red pads, and the accuracy. There are more tools we have now. We have a velocity sensor. So figure out how to implement the velocity sensor. There's some formulas involved in that as well with the actual program. And then put the velocity on the statistics menu. Force. So there are formulas to calculate the force. These force sensors are pretty accurate and pretty sensitive. So once you get those force sensor readings that I spoke about in the shortcoming working correctly, use that now to also calculate the force. And triangulation. So the pads are about, I want to say 3 by 4 feet. Through triangulation, which means you would need about 3 force sensors on the pad, you're able to check where the pad was hit. So figure out how to get that whole thing working, and that will be a big plus on it. So that ends the shortcomings and the wish list video. Just go through this, and of course there's much more to add. Gajen, my partner, and I will be available for you guys next semester, but these are definitely some of the things you're going to want to implement. These are specific things that the product owner, Gummy, wanted us to do. We didn't have time to do them, but this is stuff he'll definitely like. So thank you for listening.